Hello everyone and welcome back to your weekly PlayStation podcast, Talking the PS, where we round up all of the PlayStation and cloud gaming news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on Helix Cloud Games. This show goes live on every Tuesday on YouTube and also podcast services of your choice up there in the digital clouds. You're joining myself, Chris, alongside my chaotic neutral, Rob, joining us once again. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
Richie, unfortunately, passed away from too much alcohol and lack of sleep on Saturday, so he's unable to join us this week. He went hard, boys and girls, he went hard, and he did not live to tell the tale, of course. I'm joking. He's got some family obligations, some birthday parties to attend, some bubbles to blow, and some cake to eat, so he's not jumping on with this, of course. He was on Sounds of Stadia yesterday, but we are here to round up all the PlayStation news. We've got a great show lined up for you all out there, discussing your monthly PlayStation Plus games. All of them have been announced. New Assassin's Creed titles, Sony acquiring new studios, purchases, buyouts, and much, much more. And also Spider-Man is now Kermit the Frog. But we'll get into all that. Don't forget to give the video a like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you're kept in the loop with all of the amazing content we do here at Helix Cloud Games, like our live streams, our first looks, our streams, and all of our shows. Shout out to all of our Helix heroes that get that content up to 6 days early. You can support us, you can support the channel a little bit more by clicking join below on the YouTube video. From as little as 99 pence, you too can become a Helix Hero. Special access in the chat, super stickers, and as I mentioned, early access to our CloudQuest shows and other great content. Little bit of housekeeping, Rob, before we get into all the PlayStation news of the week. We've got a lot of stuff coming up on the dock later on this very week, actually. So if you guys are watching this on the Tuesday when this show goes live, this coming Friday we have our first ever, the inaugural Disney and Marvel Game Showcase. That is Friday the 9th of September at 9 p.m. British Summer Time. We'll be jumping on and reacting, watching along to who knows what, actually. We don't know. It's a Disney. It's the first ever one. It's Disney.
Yeah, there's no format to this, right?
Yeah, we don't know. It's at the Disney D23 celebration, so it's a face-to-face, in-live showcase event. There's going to be a live audience over in America, which means there's going to be loads of whoops and crazy cheese and stuff for when big things land. We know we're going to see something from Lego Skywalker Saga, possibly some DLC. There is Star Wars Eclipse has been shown off, I think, a little bit. There's the Disney kind of The Sims meets Disney, live in the Cinderella Castle kind of thing that's going on, and Amy Hennig's big Avengers Ensemble game, which we know nothing about yet, so that's probably going to be the big tentpole game. But yeah, we don't actually know what is on the dock as far as how long it's going to be, what they're going to showcase. We could see Spider-Man, we could see Wolverine, we could see Star Wars projects. Who knows? So it's very exciting. Join us this Friday, 9 p.m. British summertime, as I said, or your local time zone. And we're going to watch along. Join us in the chat. Join us to see some exciting things. And hopefully plenty of PlayStation news along the way too. Almost said Stadia then. I guess we might. And then following on from that, on Saturday, folks, next Saturday, the train doesn't stop there. 8 p.m. British summertime, we have the year's first Ubisoft Forward. So they've done a couple of these shows, but they've not done one in 2022 as of yet. They skipped out on what would have been E3. They missed out on Summer Games Fest, and they're saving it for this coming Saturday. Funny enough, after the Disney showcase, so me and Richie were theorising, Rob, that there might actually be some cross-pollination there. Ubisoft are working on a Star Wars game. It's the guys who made The Division 2 have been working on it for about 2 or so years now. And we were theorising maybe they'll show something off and then say, keep tuned tomorrow for Ubisoft Forward for a little bit more info. But Disney pulling the strings and going, we want to be the guys to reveal it. Because
Disney gets like the dunk, and then
Ubisoft followed up.
Put the detail
exactly. We won't waste our precious showcase time. You can do it on your own hours.
But yes, about the nerd stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Get into the nitty gritty of it all. But yes, Ubisoft Forward. We're no doubt going to see a bunch of games. Of course, Ubisoft Classics are now forming part of PlayStation Plus's offerings, so we might hear some more details along those lines. But yes, so Friday the 9th at 9 is the Disney Marvel, and then Saturday the 10th at 8 p.m. is the Ubisoft Forward. And to round things all off, we are celebrating our 3rd year anniversary of this very channel. Helix Cloud Games, formerly Sounds of Stadia channel, will be celebrating 3 years on the 30th September. So we're going to get together on the 1st of October, the Saturday, because we wanted a full day to go at it. And we wanted to basically play games with you, the wonderful community, all of our supporters out there who've tuned in for our content over the last 3 years, Rob. 3 freaking years of doing this, which is insane to do.
I remember being at a party when you talked about starting to do a podcast, like as a concept, like before lockdowns, before we all turned 30 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which, You know, it's crazy. It's still at this point now.
And as Richie was saying the other week, it's just kind of part of his routine now, part of his life. Like it's just a hobby you just lock into. And yeah, we've done 154 episodes of Sounds of Stadia now, and this is our third year celebrating. And I mean, last year we actually raised over £1,000 for cancer charities as well, doing it in time with playing games and donating money. That was awesome. Our viewers and listeners out there are fantastic, and yeah, we kind of just want to get together, have some drinks. Maybe not as many drinks as we had this past weekend.
Yeah, maybe not.
Take it a little bit easy because we'll have to, of course, be on camera. But yeah, we're going to play games. We've got giveaways. We've got a Google Nest to give away. We're going to get some merchandise things. So if you want to get some Helix swag, we're going to order that custom ordered to whoever our winners are. A couple of probably Google vouchers and such along the way. But we've got Stadia Scope returning, where you can guess the Stadia game based on zoomed-in pictures with you, the community. We might do Stadia or PlayStation 20 questions, where you got to guess the game based on like yes or no answers. But more importantly, we just want to play games with you. So let us know in the comments below what you'd like to see us celebrate, what you'd like to see us play. We're going to be going for probably 12 plus hours, as we usually do, well into the early hours of the morning. Just play video games, because that's what part of this channel was all about, an excuse to play video games with other like-minded people out there. So do let us know in the comments below. If you want to give us a bit more information, we do have a Discord chat, a Discord channel that you can join. The links in the description below. We'll get into all that. But Rob, before we get into the news, I do want to just give some quick first impressions of The Last of Us Part 1. That did drop this past week. I dove into it late last night after being hung. Once I'd recovered from my hangover, I thought, you know what, I can't have this box just sat. Actually, did I open it while we were drunk? Because the Amazon delivery came at like 8 o'clock at night. And
I don't think so, no.
Because it was open the next morning, so clearly I'd opened it from the packaging at some point while drunk and think...
You might just like taking yourself off to like your study and just being like, okay, I'll open
it now while everyone's just celebrating in the other room, and I'm there just like, nerding out over a video game. I do remember at some point, because the Amazon delivery, it was weird, it came at like 7:45 at night, which is odd for Amazon. They're usually quite
that
early.
happens sometimes now.
Yeah.
I sometimes get the random delivery at like 2 p.m. on a Sunday, which is like...
So odd. And someone actually thought there was someone coming to the party in a high-vis jacket, because they're like, oh, Chris, there's someone at the door in like in a high-vis. And I was like, oh, is that? That's weird. And then, yeah, it was the Amazon thing. So I put that in last night, and yeah, everything that's been said about the price and stuff, this is the best version of the game ever. Like, it's so... Like, I've probably played the opening 2 and a bit hours. I'm quite well-versed in the game now. I know exactly where I'm going, what I'm looking for, what I need to do. But damn, this game's beautiful. Like the opening scene as well, for obviously spoilers, stuff happens in the opening few minutes, but honestly still brought me to tears nearly, the opening scene. Just the graphic fidelity they show and the emotion and the detail and the facial structure is like second to none. Like Naughty Dog, this my problem with Naughty Dog games is when I go and play other games, like a Ubisoft one, for example, the animations in the face are so bland and empty. It makes cutscenes feel really dated, because Naughty Dog is so far ahead of everyone else. Again, a lot of the PlayStation first-party studios are, but just seeing all the emotion, like the glints in the eye, the wrinkles, the shape and the smile and the textures. And then, yeah, like you said, you go and play Assassin's Creed, which is still a AAA game, but it just seems so robotic and old and clunky, and it's like, wow, it's just that they're a different level.
I had this massive issue. So I played Uncharted 4, which... on like the time it came out, like it still is a mind-blowingly beautiful game. Yeah, but like this is like a over 5-year-old game now, and I still got like I didn't play another game on another kind of AAA game for a good like 18 months, because I was super into like UFC 4 and I was like trying to get competitive on that, and then I can't remember the game. I think it was an Assassin's Creed, and like my only comparison was to Uncharted 4, and I was like, how the hell is this game like 2 years older than this, and it still looks like crap? And I was like. But it's just like it says, like the caliber of those titles is so far and high and above.
It really is. It's like kind of like, and obviously because the first part they have that kind of protection, that budget, they don't need to cut corners, so they can. And because a lot of their stories are linear and single player, you don't have all these outside social interactions or online features to kind of worry about. You can just focus on making this game the best it can be. And I know
it's a super unfair comparison, but it is one I can't help but make.
Yeah, you're going to do that. It's again, it's a form of art, and if it looks the best, then it deserves that compliment. But as I said, £70 I think to buy. I know that's probably been the biggest criticism. A lot of people saying, should you buy it? Should you not buy it? again, the great thing with it is you don't need to. So if you don't want to play it right now, you know what? Put a pin in it.
Yeah.
When the HBO series kicks off and inevitably everyone's like in absolute awe of how good that show is, and you get that itch to go play it, you now have the best version of the game to play, and it's on par with The Last of Us 2, so you could play them back to back without having that jarring 8-year leap in technology where you play the first one and it might play a little bit clunky, because they've done a couple of things like update the UI. So all of the part when you have to kind of start the petrol engines and you pull on the cord and it has a little mini game, that UI has now all been brought in line with The Last of Us Part 2. So it doesn't look like the jump between two games, it's seamless. And yeah, it's just so good. I can't wait to play more of it. I'm playing through it with the wife for the first time as well, and she adores the Uncharted games, but she's not too into horror. So, but now this is here, it's like, right, okay, it still tells a fantastic, like, Naughty Dog quality story, but I think she's going to have to come to terms with, like, the crafting element of it and scavenging for things, which Uncharted, it's very much just, you get bullets given to you, like, in the thousands, so you're fine. It's very much pulp action adventure, whereas this is a bit more, like, gritty and grounded, so... Well, I'm going to see how the horror and the kind of, like, the adult themes really work, like the gore and we'll see, so... I'll keep tabs on that one. But yeah, my first impressions, absolutely, it's one of my favourite games of all time. I was always going to buy it. I was fortunate it was my birthday, so my mother actually bought it for my birthday present. As a 33-year-old man, it was like, what do you want for your birthday, son? I'd like a PlayStation game, Mum. It's like, how old are you again? It's like
33-year-old man is probably a generous.
It's my hobby. It's my hobby. But we digress, of course. Yeah, Last of Us Part 1, first impressions, fantastic. If you've not played it, what are you doing? It's worthwhile checking out. And if you're a big fan, just wait till the price is right. You don't have to buy it. I wouldn't be surprised if it's added to the PlayStation Plus collection at the same time the HBO show comes out. You watch it on TV and then it's like, hey, if you've got PlayStation Plus, play the Blockbuster award-winning best version of this game for free right now. But speaking of PlayStation Plus, Rob, we've got a lot of news to talk about regarding PlayStation Plus. So if you could do us the honours of introducing us to
the properly prepared PlayStation Bruising Points, aka
the news. Did you lose your... I saw your eyes quickly scan across the screen.
I had to quickly, I had to go and then find the listing in the doc that we use, in the script almost.
Script, yes.
I don't think anybody would have noticed unless you point that out, Chris.
That's what I'm here for, to make sure people are aware of everyone's failings and faults on this show. I did it. What did I do? I did to Rich on Sounds of Stadia this week, where he went to say something. And he paused to correct himself, and he said the right thing, but then my first response was to go, "You just fucked up." He was like, "I was about to, yeah." But all fun and games, especially when it comes to PlayStation Plus. We have our September monthly games for all tiers. So unlike previous months when they've kind of give us an initial drop at the beginning, and then we find out about which ones are coming mid-month, they kind of keep that until about the 17th, 18th has been their cadence so far. Not the case now. We have absolutely everything. So kicking off your claimable PlayStation Plus games, remember, across all tiers, we have, first up, Need for Speed Heat. It's a PS4 game, but obviously you'll be able to claim it through your PlayStation 5 as well. Hustle by day and risk it all at night in Need for Speed Heat, a white-knuckle street racer where the lines of law fade as the sun starts to set. By day, Palm City hosts the Speed Hunter Showdown, a sanctioned competition where you earn bank to customize and upgrade your high-performance cars, but at night, ramp up the intensity in this illicit street racing and help build your reputation, getting access to bigger races and better parts. So Need for Speed Heat, again, an older title, but I believe it was the last Need for Speed game we've actually had. There is still a big rumour that we're getting another entry this very year. And somehow we're in September and EA have actually kept it under wraps. Aside from a few rumours, we actually haven't seen anything about this yet. So credit where credit's due. We're probably going to see a big leap. Almost no surprise then, actually, that Need for Speed are partnering with PlayStation to get this out as this big month's game. You kind of like build up the hype for a racing game a little bit. Like
pull people a bit back into the franchise and almost remind people it still exists.
Yeah, it's been very dormant, of course. We know Criterion were taking off the Need for Speed project to go help out with the Battlefield 2042 game, which is not beloved by any stretch of the imagination, and now that's all been pretty much done, put to bed. They've moved over, and hopefully they're going to get it out this year. Rob, I have fantastic memories with you of playing Need for Speed Underground for many, many hours at your house, at my house. It's one of my favourite kind of nostalgia games. obviously doesn't really hold up today by video game standards, but
not at all.
Get me that Nissan Skyline.
Neither does like the first kind of couple of Fast and Furious movies don't hold up either. They're super cringy when you look back at them now.
Yeah, definitely. But it was a moment in time. Neon lights, decals all over the car, decals, however you try and say it. Yeah. And it was great.
I've John and the East Side Boys.
Exactly. Yeah, watching Pimp My Ride on MTV and living our best lives. What was the last Need for Speed game you played?
So I put a couple of hours into Heat.
Okay.
But it was more just because I got it bundled in with a deal I got. But I've
seen it on offer a few. Again, it's kind of because it's not brand new. I have seen it being a couple of promotions, and I think it was on Game Pass for quite some time.
Yeah. So what I used to use it is because when I used to play UFC religiously, I would get so wound up with that game because obviously it's a fighting game, it's competitive, and there's a certain kind of meta to it where you have to do a bit cheesy things to win. So I get really wound up, and I'd use Need for Speed Heat as a bit of
your palate cleanser.
Kind of cool, like a bit of a cool down game, and it's fine. I'm not super into racing games anyway, but it was for what it is. It was a solid title.
Yeah.
But again, not one I spent hundreds of hours or any type of depth into it.
I mean, with the Need for Speed games, I always think it's hard for them to really mess it up that much. Like, the games look visually gorgeous. Like, racing is very much, as we know, from point A to point B. This throws in a bit of nitrous oxide, and that's kind of like, I know they have campaigns with stories, but there's only so much of a story you can tell, right? Guy wants to be a racer. Yeah. He's on the outside. He wants to get in with the cool kids of the racing scene. He either partakes in some event to show tests his mettle. He wins the race against the big boss, which shows how good he is. And then someone dies along the way, which upsets the core group. And then there's a police are involved. There's the bad guys. And then you
lose the super version of the car you start with. Somehow,
yeah.
To build back
There's
up.
a crash. You've got no money. You start with a Ford Focus or a Vauxhall Corsa, and then you have to work your way back up to be the best street race there is. I get it. I appreciate it. Again, I think I've said time and time again on some multiple shows, I used to love racing games like Grand Theft Auto, Gran Turismo, anything with cars. And then as an adult, I've been driving for 15 years now, so it's kind of lost its... I have a car sat right outside on my drive that I can take and do anywhere with. So...
You get to a point where you're braking hard into corners and you're accelerating this will cost lots of fuel in real life.
My insurance wouldn't cover this.
This isn't efficient driving at all.
Yeah, it's kind of living out your fantasies is the great part of video games, that escapism, and the reality of it's having a car in real life, it kind of takes away from that dream a little bit because you can just go do it. But Need for Speed Heat coming soon. There are some other games claimable. Grand Blue Fantasy Versus is another PS4 title. Legendary fighting game studio Arc System Works brings Grand Blue Fantasy Universe to PlayStation in an action-packed head-to-head fighter. Grand Blue Fantasy Versus features a colourful cast, each with unique fighting styles, and also an RPG mode that features an all-new original story. Play solo or team up with a friend and fight waves of enemies in a thrilling action RPG combat. I have no clue what this game is about. I've not seen it or heard of it before.
No.
So PS4 version again. So it's one of those months where it's a bit weak on the PS5 exclusive front. You are also getting Tome, a photo
I've never
adventure.
Heard of this.
I think this is brand new out.
I think it looks pretty. Again, a comfy game just to to play down to. It's a nice little art style, and it's not going to be anything taxing on the brains or anything like that. And maybe you need that sometimes.
Yeah,
I think I'll give this a try.
Tome, a camera adventure. I don't really know what that means, but this is your PS5 claimable game. So I think that's always the ironic thing where Need for Speed Heat is the PS4 version, but on the flip side, your actual PS5 claimable one is Tome, set on a wonderful, delightful expedition using a photographic eye to uncover mysteries in a hand-drawn adventure game. Chat with quirky characters, solve their problems, snap up neat photos, and make your way through a relaxing landscape. I'm gonna have to just check this one out because I don't really know what it's about or what it does. It looks like a smaller indie title with some written dialogue, solve puzzles, and take photos along the way through. It reminds me of Fez a little bit with the kind of 3D islands. And again, art style looks colourful and good enough. But I think if this was just the PlayStation games for the month, it would leave people feeling very, very sour. However, we now have the extended game catalog, which grows bigger. So anyone on premium extra tier, because obviously they don't want people on just the basic tier. They're pushing you, they're incentivizing you to move up a tier, extra and premium. I think the three of us, you, me, Richie, and I think Jeff as well, we're all on premium. I think we've all just committed. I think you've done it for the cloud gaming. I think we've all done it for the cloud gaming, to be fair.
But to an extent, I was just confused about the tier system, so I was like, I guess I'll just go premium.
If I go for the top one, I can't go wrong, right? I'm getting absolutely everything. Yeah. You're not wrong there, because a slew of games have been coming for that one as well. First up for me, the biggest one is Deathloop. No surprise. Deathloop's been out almost 1 year, so I think people are expecting it to go finally over to Xbox by the end of the summer, because it again, Arcane Studios, who made this, are now owned by Microsoft. It was one of those weird games where Microsoft announced they were buying Bethesda and all the studios, and then we got Ghostwire Tokyo, which was made by Bethesda, exclusive on PlayStation, and then we got Deathloop, made by Bethesda, Arcane, exclusive on PlayStation. So it was almost like Microsoft's first two games they put out after buying them were both PlayStation exclusives in this weird kind of twist of fate. And Deathloop, made from the guys who did Dishonored, it's a first-person shooter, a tale of two rival assassins trapped in a mysterious time loop on the island of Black Reef, doomed to repeat the same day for eternity. As Cult, your only chance to escape is to end the cycle by assassinating 8 key targets before the day resets. Learn from each cycle, try new paths, gather intel, and find new weapons and abilities. Alternatively, play as Juliana to protect the loop by invading other players' games and stopping Cult in its tracks. Deathloop, for me, aesthetically, looks great. I'm not really one for first-person shooters, although I really did love Wolfenstein. That was kind of like my last kind of different, outside of Call of Duty, essentially. That was my last big shooter I kind of played. What did Deathloop do for you? Is it one that intrigues you, or?
Yeah, definitely. So I kind of missed. Obviously, I've only just been back in the PlayStation ecosystem for kind of 6 months or so now. So it was a game that completely passed me by when it first came, when it got announced and things like that. I'm kind of with you on the first-person shooter thing. I think most of them don't have an original enough concept or an original enough kind of plot to get to pull me in. But what I do like about this one is the kind of the dual sides that you can play, which I think I'll get to it eventually, but it's not going to be one of the first ones I jump into, I don't think.
Yeah, it's for shooters for me. I really have to be in the mood nowadays for it. A third-person story game, I'm pretty much down for. But yeah, with this one, I think it does enough differently, and it did win loads of Game of the Year awards, so it's clearly highly acclaimed. I think just next time I'm in the mood for a shooter, I think this is what I'll probably gravitate towards. Similar to Wolfenstein. I remember I bought Wolfenstein because I saw it on a shelf in a shop for 14 quid, and I was like, that's quite a good bargain at the time. Bought it, still haven't played it. It's just sat on my shelf waiting one day because it was on an offer somewhere. But yeah, Deathloop for free, rival assassins, locked in a time loop. What's not to like? I do think the art style is quite cool, and no doubt we'll check this out. But this is definitely the big one. So aside from Need for Speed Heat, this is the game's not even a year old yet. It's PS5 exclusive. Can't play it anywhere else, and now you get it as part of your PlayStation Plus. So go snap that one up. Plenty to play along the way. There are some other titles they did drop in. You've got Assassin's Creed Origins, so Ubisoft Classics coming into play a little bit again. That's the one in ancient Egypt. I think it's probably my favourite Assassin's Creed game of recent year. I absolutely love Egyptian mythology.
Odyssey a little bit better. Yeah, I think Odyssey for me was a little bit better. But again, it's a strong title, and fair enough, most people will have played this already to some degree by this point, but it's still just a really good, solid title to kind of bulk up the library.
Yeah, I mean, Ubisoft helping out big time with these PlayStation Plus lists, because there's a lot of them that are from Ubisoft, and I do worry that PlayStation are going to hit a wall probably by the end of the year where Ubisoft are going to go, look, we got now left. We've give you every month you've took 8 of our titles and put them on. We don't have that many games left to give on PlayStation, so then PlayStation Plus at the turn of the year, they're going to have to do something, because I think a lot of people are lamenting the lack of PlayStation Classics now. They're kind of told us you were going to get all these, and we've had Toy Story, Ape Escape, and that's pretty much it. There's not been
ideally,
much.
I'd hope they're using this kind of Ubisoft thing to kind of buy time to build out the back catalog.
Yeah.
That's what I hope would be happening. Whether or not it is.
I mean, they'll run out of games. We are literally going to get to a point where, outside of like one or two big titles from their own in-house things, Microsoft own half the industry, so you can't nitpick from them. But yeah, Assassin's Creed Origins, absolutely great game. And if you talk about value, you're getting like a 120-hour game there as part of your subscription. So umpteen return on investment. The other next one up is Watch Dogs 2, the best Watch Dogs game in my opinion. Sunset, San Francisco, tech hacking. You actually have a protagonist rather than Legion, which just you played as anyone and everyone, and it kind of just got lost a little bit. Best one, hands down. It's Marcus Holloway you play as. He's a young hacker on the tech revolution. I think San Francisco works for kind of like the techie, like, I don't want to say it's like hipster world kind of.
It's like the startup world.
Yeah, the big tech businesses. Everyone's embracing it, that kind of thing. Get your Starbucks. We're also getting Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. Relive and battle the historic moments of the Dragon Ball saga. Spiritfarer Farewell Edition. I just want to skip through these because we could be all day talking about this. Chicory, A Colourful Tale, which got loads of Indie Game of the Year titles. Monster Energy Supercross, the official video game 5, which is like one of the worst titles you could possibly go. Race to Become the Champion in Monster Energy Drink. Alex Kidd in Miracle World, DX on PS4 and PS5. Rabbids, again leading on Ubisoft. We've got the Rabbids Invasion on PS4. We've got Rayman Legends. Shout out to Rayman as well, still going strong. I think it's been 9 years since Ubisoft put out a Rayman game, so this is the high point in the last 10 years. Scott Pilgrim, again Ubisoft versus the World. That's the complete edition, which actually just released about probably just short of a year ago, so it's actually the latest version of that. That's good to know.
Yeah, it's like a nice solid game.
Nice little tidy add on there. And then rounding it out, we do actually have some PlayStation classics listed in there. We have Siphon Filter 2, which is a PS1 game. Those who remember Siphon Filter, originally released in 2000. This is the enhanced with rewind, quick save, and custom video filters with trophy support as well. The Sly Cooper collection is also available, so featuring Sly Cooper 2, Bands of Thieves, and Sly 3, Honor Among Thieves, alongside Thieves in Time, the PS3 version, Bentley's Hack Pack, which I think was a mini game pulled from another game, Toy Story 3 from the PSP, and Kingdom of Paradise from the PSP also. So we are seeing some older random games coming across, but I don't think they're the big hitters that some people are expecting.
I mean,
Sly Cooper's probably the biggest one out of those classic games. You're getting 3 titles in one kind of collection.
Yeah, I mean, stupidly enough, I'm most excited about in this entire drop for PS Plus for Siphon Filter 2, because I remember growing up with the Siphon Filter games, and I think I only got the first one originally because my mum made the mistake when I asked for Splinter Cell. And she got
the same generic instead. Guy on the cover.
Yeah. Which I was furious at the time. But
But then it introduced you to Siphon Filter.
It did, yeah. And it was like back then, like if you did not play a game that you got because like you didn't get games like super frequently, so you played whatever was available to you. And I remember playing this, and I guess because I didn't have the internet and stuff like that, I didn't realize it wasn't like the best action game, but I just enjoyed it all the same, and there was no one on the internet saying this game sucks.
You just didn't know, did you?
Bad. Yeah. So I have a weird connection to the Siphon Filter franchise, so I'm definitely playing it too.
Well, there's loads of rumors that it's due a comeback or resurgence, and I don't think it's no surprise that Sony Bend, who recently just got Days Gone, they're the guys who made Siphon Filter, pretty sure. They redid the logo, so their company logo changed. They've actively said they're not working on a Days Gone 2. Like, that's not getting done. They're doing a TV show or a movie, but the game doesn't unfortunately deserve a sequel, even though I thought it was fantastic.
I liked it, yeah.
Siphon Filter, Sony doesn't really have this genre of game in their first-party studios. We see a lot of it from Ubisoft, like that kind of Tom Clancy inspired, but Ubisoft have got a Splinter Cell game that's probably well out. Metal Gear Solid is doing God knows what off with Kojima's obviously fell out with them. Konami don't know what they want to do with it. There's rumours of remasters, remakes, but I think there's definitely a gap in the market right now for this. And I think Siphon Filter 1 and 2 getting these releases with trophy support, it feels like there's a lot more love being shown to this franchise than anything else being brought across. So
it's like a fair bit of work for you have to think why.
And it's why you're kind of building the brand back up almost. I think between either Siphon Filter or SOCOM, I think there's two dormant franchises there that we're possibly going to see come back in some way, shape, or form. For me, I think Deathloop's obviously the big hitter from these ones. In terms of the classics, I'm pretty sure like Toy Story 3 is like the worst out of all of the games that came out. It's actually crazy to think Toy Story 3 was a PSP game. Like Toy Story 3 in my mind isn't that old of a movie, but evidently the fact that the tie-in game was out on the PSP, not the Vita, the PSP, and the Vita's been dead for years. It's crazy. Time is crazy. But yeah, I think the Sly Cooper collection for me. I've never actually played a Siphon Filter game. I've never really played a Sly Cooper collection game, but it seems in that kind of Crash Bandicoot, Spyro era that I'm super intrigued by. And is Sly Cooper Insomniac? And then did they pivot to... Sucker Punch. So they're obviously on Ghost of Tsushima now. But what's the rest of the studio working on? I could see them doing a Sly Cooper remaster, especially after how well Crash and Spyro did. I think it's kind of
these kind of mascot characters are like... They're quite reliable in terms of sales and stuff.
Yeah,
right?
And I think we also forget, as adult gamers, it was like, there's still kids out there getting into gaming and families. And not everything can be Grand Theft Auto, murder and bullets and guns and The Last of Us, zombies and stuff. Like there is still a need.
Life questions being answered by the final game. Like you need some just dumb stuff.
You really do. And obviously Nintendo, they live and breathe that family friendly stuff. Like anything they put out that's got like Mario or Zelda and just sell Pokemon sells gangbusters because it appeals to kind of all audiences. Like Animal Crossing was like the highest selling game of 2020. All you do is have a cute little animal and you're basically building your homestead with like nice relaxing Zen music.
Simple concept.
It is, and it just works. So yeah, give me more of that. And of course, you've got the last few final days to claim August pro games, monthly games as well. So Yakuza Like a Dragon, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, Little Nightmares, and Unrailed. If you haven't claimed them already, you've not got long left to do there. These new games go live, I believe it's on the 6th of September. So today's your last day, folks. Right, moving on then. We've got some big shake-ups and moves. Of course, the industry never sits still when it comes to spending money, and spending they do. Sony, Elden Ring developers have a bit of a relationship. We know, of course, FromSoftware put out the phenomenally received Bloodborne franchise. We don't know if that's ever going to get a sequel because FromSoftware just like to move on to the next thing. They did Bloodborne, then they went and did Sekiro. And then they've randomly gone and done Elden Ring, and this team just keeps getting banger after banger, hit after hit.
I know, right? Like,
and they've done sequelizers.
Some magic over there.
Like,
yeah, I mean, I'm not entirely against that. I think it's obviously working for them, and
it keeps it fresh.
Kind of perception of them in fans is insanely high, right?
Yeah, I mean, Elden Ring's going to win a lot, if not all, of the Game of Year. Like, unless God of War Ragnarok, I think, is the only thing that could possibly stop it swooping across the board. But everybody I listen to in the industry just would not shut up about Elden Ring for like the last 6 months. So
yeah, and even if it's not my type of game, like I won't play a game like that just because it's too involved for like my schedule. And
I think we're all lifestyle. The same.
Yeah, but like I can't deny it. Like when if I'm working and I watch people streaming it, like there is parts of it like do pull me in and.
Yeah,
again,
exactly the
same.
same.
Not my type of game.
Yeah, exactly the same. And yeah, Elden Ring, it's probably going to get some DLC early next year, which is going to give like another boon. But yeah, FromSoftware, like essentially, they're just setting their business up to do so well over the next decade or so. Because if like money's a bit short, you just go, all right, we're doing a Bloodborne 2. The hype hits the roof. You're short again for ideas. We're doing a Sekiro sequel. Everything hits the roof. Sekiro won loads of Game of the Year awards.
Yeah, if they want to just like kind of get money in, if they even like hit that need, they've got at least half a decade worth of like sequels that they can just kind of continuously delve through, right? And fair enough, they'll lose a bit of kind of renown with the fans and stuff like that, but people will buy those games. And one of the main things which like stops like small studios like this kind of existing in the long term is they're running into cash flow issues. And fair enough, like as gamers we don't like to talk about the business side of things, but this is how like small publishers and small kind of developers can die if they don't kind of manage.
You've got to stay fresh, don't you? Like you don't want to become like with any business, you don't want to become stagnant and rest on your laurels and stuff. And we've seen kind of Ubisoft struggle with that recently, like trying to go back to the same well over and over again. And yeah, FromSoftware just absolutely smashing it out the park, and it's actually surprising they've not been fully acquired yet. But the story of the week is Sony have acquired a minority stake in the Elden Ring developer FromSoftware, alongside Tencent as well. So we've got that Chinese money coming in once again. Kadokawa Corporation, the current owner of FromSoftware, will retain a majority of shares, owning 69.66% of the studio. Sony will purchase 14.9% stake, and Tencent subsidiary, Sixjoy Hong Kong, will acquire 16.25%. So according to this, it recognises the enhancements. This is a direct quote from Kadokawa. Recognising the enhancements and capabilities for creation, development, and deployment of game IP is one of the group's highest priorities. To that end, FromSoftware will establish third-party allotment, essentially allowing for further funding from Sony and Tencent by proxy. All I think this is Sony doing is basically making sure Microsoft don't swoop in and buy these guys. Like if you you might have the money to afford the whole shop, but you can certainly like buy into the I don't know where I was going with that analogy. I kind of lost it halfway through talking about it. You know what I mean? Like it's the kind of the whole like why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free almost kind of thing.
Yeah.
They've obviously got a relationship. Like I said, Bloodborne 2, PlayStation fans will flip out all around the world if FromSoftware say they're working on a Bloodborne 2. But PlayStation do actually own that IP, so there is a relationship that's kind of locked in between these two companies. Tencent money, we've seen it happen with Tencent, and there's another latest story actually we'll get to in a short while about just the Chinese companies now trying to like get percentage shares in pretty much every Western game developer. It seems like they're gearing up to just have their tendrils in it in every bit of the game industry, for better or for worse. And FromSoftware, Rob, partially owned. I guess it doesn't really make that much of a difference in the now. It's probably more long-term investment, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think the main thing for Sony is they get a chance to, whilst the games will still be like multi-platform, Sony can do kind of some co-branded kind of ads and kind of marketing campaigns for it, which will probably like pull a couple of people over to the PlayStation Network, which you'd think that's what they're trying to do.
Oh, 100%.
Like if they're advertising the PlayStation 5 for some reason and they can show more clips of like stuff like Elden Ring in there, probably is... They'll have like the influence to do that, maybe.
Completely.
But yeah, it gives the guys like a bit more cash to hopefully keep exploring new titles as well and things like that. So
well, that's it. It's that kind of association, and we've kind of all probably got it in our minds where like people associate Splinter Cell with Xbox just because that's what happened back in the day with like partnerships and trailers, and it would end with the Xbox logo. And yet Splinter Cell is Ubisoft, so it's everywhere and anywhere. But there's that association. We know PlayStation, ironically enough, had that Call of Duty one for the entire PS4 generation. It was all in on Call of Duty with Activision. And then you saw everyone who was playing Call of Duty on Xbox migrate over, and then weirdly enough, the PS4 outsold the Xbox. And it's like marketing's much, much more than just the box under your TV. It's anything and all the moving parts completely around it. And you're right, first dibs on this means when FromSoftware inevitably do a sequel to Elden Ring or a sequel to obviously Bloodborne will be exclusive, but anything they've put out, Sekiro sequel, if Sony have first dibs on that, it's like Game of the Year award-winning sequel Elden Ring, and all the marketing is PlayStation focused, and then they also take a cut of the profits because they have shares in it. And it's smart business. Yeah,
it's a no-brainer really.
Yeah, and
so the studio's on fire, so
yeah. Definitely, and that's what they like to see. Actually, keeping in line with kind of acquisitions and purchases, I'll move one of the stories around. Quantic Dream have been fully acquired, or set to be fully acquired by NetEase, so another Chinese company coming in with their big bucks. Already holding a minority stake, NetEase will now fully own the studio once the deal is done. Quantic Dream will retain its creative independence and will be the company's first European studio as it continues to push for growth. They didn't say how much the acquisition particularly was, but David Cage's studio is currently working on Star Wars Eclipse, which they teased last year, and they're just recently set to publish an underwater exploration game, Under the Waves, which was showcased at Jeff Keighley's Summer Games Fest the other week. The CEO of NetEase quoted, values of our creative freedom and drive and passion of our uniquely diverse team will allow them to accelerate the vision we share as a group and create landmark titles that touch people on an emotional level. So those who PlayStation fans out there will remember Quantic Dream are the guys who had a 3-game exclusive to make Heavy Rain, which was very well received, Beyond Two Souls, which not so much well received. And then the final one, which was Detroit Become Human, which is the only one of the three I've played, but I absolutely thought it was fantastic. They broke away from that PlayStation deal. I know PlayStation had a few problems. David Cage in the studios had a bit of a rough time recently with accusations and stuff working on behind the scenes, lawsuits, and being taken to court in France and such. However, NetEase came in, bought them out. Rob, it shows you how much I'm used to. It shows you how many shows I'm used to doing. It's because every time I wrap up a story and I throw it over, it's always thrown it over to Richie. And I actually can't see your face right now because I've got a trailer playing over the top of you. So apologies, Richie.
I've just been girding for the past half an hour. So.
Sorry about that. But yes, NetEase, Rob. What do you think of this acquisition? It's more, again, Chinese money. Again, I feel like I keep saying Chinese like it's a negative thing, but all of the podcasts I listen to, they're all American based, and they've always got this connotation of, because all these are funded by companies that are also partially owned by the Chinese government, and all the money in data and analytics gets fed into the big red communist machine. As someone who lives in a capitalist country, it's hard to kind of think like where this money is going towards all of the bad press and news you hear about what goes on in that country. Yeah. And now it's funding our passion and our hobby, and it's like, don't know how I feel.
Yeah, there's two sides to it, really. So, again, like, these two stories kind of demonstrate a big difference for me. So, Tencent taking a minority stake in from, or like any other kind of developer, I'm absolutely fine with that. Gives the developers a bit more cash. There shouldn't really be any difference in terms of creative output because of a minority. A company like NetEase fully acquiring a developer for me is quite a different story, and it comes down to the one line in the press release, which is they've made specific points to say we'll retain creative control. With that said, if Quantic Dream went to NetEase and were like, oh, we're going to make a game about Taiwan, that is not going to happen, right? Like,
definitely. Or a gay couple showing a relationship within the game would be like,
Yeah, like Disney has to bend the knee to...
They do. They literally took John Boyega out of the Star Wars poster for Chinese releases, which is like, why? He's one of the main characters. It was like, because
so what the hell is Quantic Dream going to kind of have to do to get things passed? And like, I know it's like the entire kind of political situation in China is a bit of a touchy subject, but I hate the CCP. I kind of hate what they stand for as a government.
Yeah,
don't hate you.
It is so weird, isn't it? It's such an odd topic,
distinct thing.
Because I don't believe that everyone in China, like we have a friend who lives in China, I won't say his name for something might happen to him, but
his social credit will go.
Yeah, but in terms of just like, I'd like to believe there's millions upon millions of people who are open-minded, enjoy video games, and they just want to live their best life and have no issues with any of this stuff, but for some reason there's that hold on like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't be of this race, you can't have that sexual orientation that's still prevalent over there, and it's like they need to grow up basically. And if you're getting involved and invested in my hobbies about video games, it's like you can't put them restrictions on it because it's a video game, it's art, it's trying to tell a story. You can't tell them what they can't do. And like you said, it's money, but it's money spent maybe in the wrong place.
Yeah, like some money is too expensive as a
tainted money,
and like let's not dwell on the political side.
We could go down the rabbit hole completely on that one, but either way,
I really hope like it doesn't kill their creativity.
Well, the next big game
is
going to be Star Wars Eclipse. So Disney, we know, but who knows? We will see. I am excited for Star Wars Eclipse though, because Detroit Become Human told such a vibrant, colourful story with options and branching paths, like a Telltale game, but that with Star Wars, like that sounds so appealing, and visually the games have looked stunning as well. Like artistic wise, they're great. So we'll hear more about that anyway, no doubt. In the
as a side note, like the CCP are going to send so many dislike bots to this video now.
They might do that, right? Which means
absolutely
those viewing and watching, those genuine people out there, you have to give the video a like and comment. Please, so we beat the algorithm, we beat the bots. If you actually look on some of our videos recently, there is a lot of random bots jumping on. Our Netflix cloud gaming video for CloudQuest we put out last week has loads of people going, that was a great tutorial. That really helped me. Thank you. And it was like,
oh no.
I was saying to Richie, it's not a bad comment, but it's got nothing to do with the video or what we're talking about. But alas, we get caught in that rabbit hole soon. Next up, though, we will find out about the next Assassin's Creed game this very Saturday. We've had some more leaks, and Ubisoft just basically committed to it. The rumours were true. The next Assassin's Creed game will be called Assassin's Creed Mirage, which is I've been referring to as Assassin's Creed Basim for the last 4 months. We got some news around that one. The next game, the next entry, which originally was going to be DLC for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, will be returning back to its basics. There will be no leveling up. It will be set in Baghdad, Iraq, between 870 AD and 860 AD. It will feature Basim as the main character. The RPG elements that you've come to know through Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla have been scaled back. There will be no dialogue options. There will be no multiple protagonists. So you will be playing as Basim. There will be no female-male alternatives. And Eagle Vision is back, more importantly, for me. Single player focused story seems to be what they're angling for, so a return to Assassin's Creed roots. Ironically enough, it's going back to the Middle East, where of course the first one with Altair and stuff was set way back 15 odd years ago. We're going to see more of it this coming weekend, but Rob, does all of these kind of little bullet points that came out of the leak do anything for you aside from the open world?
Yeah, honestly every single one is like, I read the list and I was like, yes, that's great. Like, there's no kind of downside for me on this. I'd say I loved Origins, I loved Odyssey. The kind of formula was starting to get a bit stale when it came to Valhalla. But I'm more than happy with them going back, trying to like pull them back to the roots. And again, I think the setting's fantastic as well. And it's something that, again, from like a Western audience's perspective, it's not something I've had massive exposure to. So even like the cultural kind of learning and things like that will be interesting. And yeah, I've got no bad thing to say about this. What about you?
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. I've loved the open world RPG ones, but I do have a bit of a hankering for going back and playing just like a story with lots of stealth mechanics to it. Some actual assassinating rather than taking down an entire fortress of 50 people. Actually going in, trying to stealth my way to a very specific target, take them down and get out there without being seen was kind of what made the first few Assassin's Creed super fun, was the stealth elements of it. So it's interesting if Ubisoft could kind of ping back and forth between linear story, compact, get in and out, and massive open world RPG. I think they could have the best of both worlds if they just kind of keep it ticking over.
Both formats have the merit, right? It's just that I feel like some stories can be better told in the way they're going with this, as opposed to a massive open world. And again, like I do get certain fatigue in open world games as well, which I'm hoping is not going to be present here. And I think reading between the lines as well, it seems like they're going to be a lot more kind of focused on like the historical elements of the games, which in the past I've loved. In fact, if you get a flavour of it with the kind of the more recent kind of, call it like the new trilogy of AC if you want. But obviously, like, they start to bring in the mythology and kind of
got a bit of crazy with it.
Yeah, and I'm not opposed to that, but sometimes being more faithful to the history of it, like not having the choice between a male and female protagonist for kind of obvious reasons, and like kind of pulling it back and taking all the RPG elements out of it. I think it has a good kind of vibe for me at the moment. The drone eagle is still there, which I'm like, whatever, because I wasn't a particular fan of that. But this is going to be the first Assassin's Creed game for a while, which I'm actually genuinely excited to kind of see it.
It is like return to its roots, isn't it, really? And it's the location alone is kind of giving you a double hit of, remember the last time with Altair, we're in this similar time frame, give or take 100 years. So I'm interested to see where kind of the Assassin's Order is going to be, what the Templars are up to, because these RPG games have been very kind of loose that the Templars and Assassins really exist. You kind of you're living your story out in ancient Egypt or ancient Greece, but you're not really linked that much to the core of what Assassin's Creed is supposed to be. So getting back to that, giving me a story and seeing what the hell Basim gets up to before he goes and ventures off to England for Valhalla is very curious. But we won't have to wait long, as I said, the Ubisoft Forward, where no doubt we're going to see gameplay reveals and all that kind of stuff soon. Me and Richie theorised on Sounds of Stadia that it might actually tie in with an Assassin's Creed remaster of the first game, because that's the only one they've not touched yet. And it's kind of like, I feel like going back with Basim in that architecture and that location, I feel like, you know, when thinking the business side point, they've already got brand new assets built that kind of reflect
like how much of the work can be reused.
And if that, whether one was helping the other, one came first, and I could see them maybe doing this and going, oh, here we are, and then announcing a remaster to come out maybe early next year, or this is going to be the next one for following up in the main series.
Because essentially it just becomes a reskin, right? In a lot of elements.
Yeah. And we've still got Assassin's Creed Infinity. We don't know what that is fully yet. There's leaks and rumours around that one. So the remaster, Richie thinks, could kick off all of the games being tied in together with Infinity. But you'll find out. We'll find out this weekend. So tune in, watch along this Saturday for that one, boys and girls. Moving on, though, next story. We've also had an announcement from Hangar 13, who are the Mafia development team. They've gone through a couple of layoffs and stuff over the last few years. Bit troubling time after the Definitive Edition remaster. I think they sacked a game they'd spent 10 million or something on already and just put it basically in the bin and went, no, we'll work on something different. There's a fourth Mafia. Over the weekend, they've been celebrating 20 years of the series, so it's at an anniversary. They've done the trilogy Definitive Edition. It's now time to work on. It's still a few early years away, but they have confirmed that it's in early development. So anything you'd like to particularly see out of a fourth Mafia game? Because I was saying that they've kind of been there and done everything now. They've gone 20s, 30s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. I think they need to do something different this time around rather than just doing another Mafia game.
Yeah. So, like, I think Mafia 3 is quite underrated as a kind of a game. Like, there was lots of kind of criticism about the repetition of it and things like that. But the first kind of, say, 3 to 4 hours of that game, I thought were fantastic. I think maybe for number 4, they have to be very careful which time period they pick. Because, like, arguably, like, I do like lots of like true crime stuff, like when I'm not gaming and things like that. And the 80s is like almost like the forgotten kind of silver age of the mob and stuff like that. So I'd be quite happy to see it kind of focus on that time period and potentially tell lots of stories that aren't told.
That's very interesting.
That's what I'd like to see.
Because having recorded Sounds of Stadia with Richie just before we did this very show, that's exactly what I said. I said, while Grand Theft Auto was kind of not around, I said I'd love them to get away from the 40s and 50s and actually go Vice City style and show me about the seedy drug world of, like, add a bit of colour to the game, because I think all these games, they've got that, like, sepia tone colour palette to them where they feel...
Yeah, which is it's very aged.
Three games, but they, in my mind, it locks them in a PS3 era where colour wasn't really a thing. Like, shout out to the Resistance franchise where everything was brown. And the kind of Mafia has that feeling for me, and I think I'd love them to just embrace the kind of Vice City, bright neon pinks, colourful Miami, but still has the Mafia, the drugs, the sex and girls and rock and roll, all that stuff that was going on in Vice City, the soundtrack, more importantly. Just make it stand out different, because I think a fourth entry in a series is always a tough one to do, because it's either more of the same and everyone just goes, we've had this 3 times already, or make it fresh and new and different. And
I think
they need
number 4 in the title should be like a mandatory reboot in effect, right?
Yeah, I don't even think they should add 4 onto it. It should just be Mafia, insert whatever you want to do. Mafia Vice.
Mafia Vice.
Yeah. Similar thing. We're writing it already, folks. We're writing it already, but we are many, many years away, no doubt. So we'll keep tabs on that one as well. Let's see. Final few stories of the week as we round out this show. PlayStation. We mentioned earlier on they're doing the investment into the Elden Ring company. However, that doesn't stop them. They've also gone out and acquired Savage Game Studios, which is a mobile game division. So reading from the blog, hello PlayStation Nation. Today we announced that we've entered into a definitive agreement to acquire Savage Game Studios, a hugely talented team of creatives with many years of experience making some of the most popular mobile games enjoyed around the world. They were founded a few years ago with the goal of fearlessly exploring bold new ideas. We share their tireless ambition to innovate, along with continued drive to expand our audience and bring PlayStation to more people than ever before. They are a perfect fit for PlayStation Studios. So only established in 2020, but they're going to obviously form part of PlayStation's expansion. We have the movie division, we have the TV studios going now. Mobile, Rob, just seems to be another arm of PlayStation where they're just trying to get their fingers in all the pies out there. Not really much to say on this one because we don't know what their projects are, what they're going to be doing. They're obviously going to be working on a mobile game of some sort, but whether that looks like another Uncharted mobile game, a Jak and Daxter mobile game. Like, you could just take your pick of IP that you want to attach. But
like this acquisition to me screams like it's easier to hire a small team and buy a company than it is to hire your own small team. I think they're buying it for the kind of the staff levels and kind of essentially the team.
Exactly.
Not for any franchise or like whatever, but it happens all the time in my kind of world. You buy kind of a small group of team because recruiting those people would cost you more because you have to tempt them away from the company. So just buy the company.
Yeah, it's much, much easier. They're already working on a new and unannounced AAA mobile live service action game, which those words together just sounds terrible. I don't know what a AAA mobile game looks like, but live service action, who knows? It's too early to reveal, they say, but they'll show more when they're ready. So wishing you all the best. We would end the blog wishing good health and happiness to you and your loved ones. Like, okay, it sounds like more of a birthday card than it does an official blog about a company, company acquisition. But either way, that is the news. We'll probably see, no doubt, what it's going to look like. Hey, if you get trophies on mobile games, I might be more intrigued to play it, but we'll see. It's just part of the constant expansion into it. We know they acquired Nixes just to do PC ports, so PlayStation are clearly out there kind of planning to get across all mediums of this new metaverse world we live in now, and with the Uncharted movie doing well, the Last of Us series is looking good. I think they just wrapped up on the Twisted Metal TV show, which was another story we had for the week. That's finished shooting, so we'll probably see a trailer or some kind of production concept stuff at the end of the year for that one. Plenty of stuff, plenty of acquisitions, and crazy enough, just more money being spent. That's the reality. It just doesn't end, Rob. It's just money.
Where the hell is this money coming from? Like
China.
But the crazy thing is, in like the kind of the tech investment world and stuff like that, like all the kind of venture and like acquisition funding has dried up like instantly this year, but the gaming industry just seems to keep going. I'm not sure how if it's going to like suddenly stop, but
hey, you know what? It keeps going. It keeps getting bigger and bigger, which is why when I go to my mother for my birthday, I'd like a PlayStation game, please. As a 33-year-old man, it's like it doesn't seem as bad anymore because it's like everyone's talking about it.
It's just our media.
Yeah,
that's what
it will be. And I love the fact that when I have kids, that I won't be that dad. I'm like, oh yeah, of course, let's get it, let's play it together. But different.
No, there'll be something else though.
I won't be cool enough to do that.
No, you
shun them.
Dork, you're still playing games.
Yeah, it will be. It will be. But moving on, final one for the week. This one actually I think is specifically for you. I think I added it in the doc, Rob. Sons of the Forest has been delayed until February 2023. So the upcoming survival horror Sons of the Forest has been delayed until next year. According to the developer Endlight Games, the upcoming sequel to The Forest has been pushed back to allow the team to polish the game. Reading directly from the tweet, due to the scope of our new game, Sons of the Forest, it's been hard to pinpoint an exact release date, and today we have to delay it one last time, giving us time to complete the polish we feel is needed. The game will release February 23rd, 2023. Rob, you mentioned you absolutely loved the first game of this one.
Yeah, like the first Forest came out of nowhere, and there was no expectations around it, and it just blew my mind when I played it. Like, it's some of the most interesting AI I've ever seen in like a game of that type. Like you kind of have like you kind of building your base, and like the kind of enemies like inhabit the island you're on will come up, and they won't necessarily attack you. Sometimes they'll just watch you and like kind of suss out what you're doing, and then go away again, and then you're like, what the hell just happened? And like it sucks you in so much. And as much as I'm sad about this getting delayed, the first Forest is still a fantastic game to play. So I'll just keep playing that until it comes out.
Keep checking it out. Checking it out. But again, it's good that they delay it. The original one got pretty much 8s and 9s across the board, so it's kind of a much hyped sequel. And at this point, what's another few months, right? February will be here in the blink of an eye. But it does push it back into that early 2023 phase where we're getting so many games now that have been delayed. And I think as soon as January kicks off, we're just going to see so many announced things. I think January alone, I think we've got Forspoken on January the 24th, and the Dead Space remake on the 27th, Deliver Us Mars February the 2nd, then Dead Island 2 February 3rd, then Hogwarts Legacy February 10th, Sons of the Forest now slots into February 23rd, Resident Evil 4 remake in March.
What's going to happen now is I'm going to want to play The Forest on PC, and my girlfriend is going to be on
Harry Potter
Hogwarts Legacy all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to buy a second PC.
And then in and amongst all that, there's so many of the titles that are originally scheduled for next year. But yeah, January through to March is stacked. Already stacked, right? So it's great. Yeah. But if you're not in the market for Sons of the Forest, fear not. You can always jump back in and play good old Spider-Man. We touched on it a few weeks ago, but I wanted to drop this one in as like the kind of like last little fun note just to end the show on. I think we joked before about the Spider-Man remaster mods. They had like Stan Lee in there already and a couple of other ones. The IGN did one over last weekend, I think it was, just the end of August. Kermit the Frog is playable as Spider-Man, and honestly, I saw the video and I just thought it was absolutely hilarious. Like, I know mods are just funny, but just watching Kermit rock those Spider-Man silky acrobatics and moves, it does it. It works so much. This makes me want to play more mods. You mentioned last week about the Game of Thrones mod. For I can't remember what game it was you were talking about, but basically it's
Bannerlord.
Yeah. And it was like, oh man! And then looking at some articles out there now, you've got people who've put Kratos into it. Some people have put Morbius into it, mobbing about. It's Morbin time. Is that the meme that's been going around?
Morbin time, yeah. I like Matt, like the Wii Sports boxer.
Yeah, you just absolutely anyone.
You could ever exist.
Could you imagine in a world where everyone's like normal human beings, and then there's just a guy from the Wii U?
Yeah, he just turns and starts punching you like relentlessly.
What would you do? There's people, the Pepsi Man there. There's Elsa from Frozen, and it's like, I guess once you've got kind of that character model, you just link the arms to this kind of skeletal structure of what is Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But it's just so funny, and
the sad thing is, like, this is one of like the biggest PlayStation exclusives to like come to PC, I'd say, and like it makes me like think of what could have been if like more of these games were on kind of on PC to mod. Like, what the hell could have happened like over the past 5 years for some of PlayStation's best titles?
I mean, it's all ahead, isn't it? It's that second boon where we mentioned about The Last of Us right at the beginning of the show, but The Last of Us is due for a PC release at some point in the future, and I think that's going to tie in with the TV show. And you can just already see the mods in The Last of Us are doing different things. But I don't think it's going to end. I think PlayStation, now they've started to embrace the PC side of things. It's just like, it's free marketing, isn't it? Someone puts Kermit the Frog in your game, and then it gets so many shares and likes and clicks. And then anyone out there who's got a PC was thinking about buying Spider-Man, I think they'll half purchase it to play an amazing game. But then on the second part, they're thinking, I could also download a mod and play as insert my favorite character from this franchise in here. Like, you could switch it out to be any of the Avengers, maybe, or any of the Muppets. It would turn out to be. Just do what you want.
Like, mods are so much more accessible now in terms of, like, even if we go back kind of a couple of years, like downloading a mod pack, figuring out which place to put it in, like the file direct. It was so hard, but now it's literally just like a tab on most launches where it's like mods,
insert,
tick, and and that's it.
So good.
The scope for more to come is incredible.
It is. I cannot wait to see what the future holds with mods in the PlayStation community, but that we'll have to wait, because that's all we've got time for on this week's episode of Talking the PS. Thanks for joining myself and Rob as we break down all the PlayStation news right here on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games. Don't forget to give the video a like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you're kept in the loop with all of the great content we do here. And more importantly, we can beat those bots and that algorithm by you dropping a comment below. Let us know what mod you'd like to see in Spider-Man or any upcoming PlayStation titles coming to PC. But in the meantime, don't forget to join us this coming Friday and Saturday as we break down the Disney and Marvel Showcase, Friday 9th of September, 9 PM British Summer Time, and on the Saturday, Ubisoft Forward, Saturday the 10th at 8 PM British Summer Time as well. Of course, Sounds of Stadia is available now for you to listen to. This very show is available now for you to listen to. But if you are, in fact, a Helix hero, you have 6 days early access to CloudQuest, where me and Richie went and talked about the GeForce Now leaks. 1 year on, 1 year anniversary, and about 2/3 of the list has came true. So the leak was definitively factual, and there's a couple of other titles, interesting enough, that are yet to come out. BioShock being one of them. Helldivers 2, which was one that everyone on the list when it originally came out thought, we're not getting a Helldivers sequel, no way in hell. And last week, gameplay footage leaked of it, so that turns out to be another one that's rung true. So yes, go check that out. It's available now if you are a Helix hero. If you're not, and you want that content early, just click join down below on the YouTube video. From as little as 99p, you can support me, Rob, Richie, and Jeff, bring you better quality content and do more things like our Stadia celebration. Well, we're going to give away merch, free gifts, and a bunch of other things. But that's been it for this week's show. Thank you very much for watching. My name's been Chris.
And I've been Richie, apparently.
You've been Richie. What's your Twitter handle? Can you remember?
Richie C1.
Oh, 89. You were so close. Oh,
something like that.
You've been Richie. And remember, folks, play whatever makes you the happiest. We'll see you on the next one. Take care. Have a great week. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.